The Tao of Self-Confidence, episode 877. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. You can now purchase The Tao of Self-Confidence, a guide to moving beyond trauma and awakening the leader within on Amazon, Barnes & Noble's, Walmart, Indigo, and other major book retailers. Get your copy today. Well, hello, friend. Welcome to The Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have an amazing lady on the show today. She has over 20 years experience in the industry working as a client sponsor of contingent labor, a staffing supplier, and within an MSP. And I'm super excited to have her on today to share her story on self-confidence. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Cassandra Faire. Cassandra, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more by yourself to the listeners.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for having me on. So in addition to the experience that I've gained over the past 20 years, I have a vast background in risk assessment, program management, business process redesign, some performance metrics, and then business process analysts. And so all of that has laid the foundation for what I have done historically and presently up to date with Talent Solutions TAPFIN over the 15 years that I've been there, in outlining some of their operational best practices and then some of the organizational standards that are still in place today.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And it's so great that you are also a part of the USPAACC WISE cohort program, which has been, a great experience to be able to connect with like-minded women and just have this collaboration because it's so needed. So really grateful that we're part of this amazing program. And Cassandra, what's your cultural background?
So I describe my cultural background as this. I'm a predominantly English-speaking American of African, Native American, and European descent. And the reason I say it that way is because there are always these preconceptions about who you are based on how someone perceives you when you show up in a room. I was raised in both European and U.S. communities that were very strong in core values and beliefs, and they prioritized everything they did by their faith first and family second. And so I've operated with that notion of showing kindness and compassion to others.
Thanks for sharing that. And Cassandra, what would be your favorite self-confidence quote?
My favorite self-confidence quote is a quote by Maya Angelou. And she said, "My mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive and do so with passion, compassion, some humor, and some style."
I love that quote. It's always a favorite among some of the other guests, so thanks for sharing that. And in your own words, how do you define self-confidence?
I believe self-confidence is trusting in your abilities, trusting in your qualities, your unique gifts, and ultimately being unapologetically you. Knowing that judgment from anyone else is mere evidence that what's in their dark is being exposed by your light.
Thanks for sharing that great definition. And Cassandra, what was your life like before discovering self-confidence?
Before, it was challenging. It's been a journey. I lived my life and saw myself based on how everyone else around me defined me, both from a positive and a negative perspective. Growing up, I was teased a lot by my peers, and that caused some negative self-talk that was deeply rooted. But at the same time, I had a very supporting family, and my family thought very highly of me. In a lot of instances in the activities that I took on, they thought I was brilliant, right? But this created an internal storm, if you will. And that storm had me second guessing both life and career decisions. I began to dwell mostly on past accomplishments, and then I would expect there to achieve a future state without acknowledging the gift of the present.
Thanks for sharing that. And, sometimes it's not always easy to battle that, right? Sometimes we're like, well, I did this before and, why can't I do it now? Is something wrong with me? Not realizing there's always different environments, but just because, you you failed at something doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you, especially in life. We're going to have to do things 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times to get the goal. And we can always transfer that confidence that we had in the past to new ventures, new challenges, and setbacks that we come through. So I love that you mentioned that. And what was that point in your life when you realized you were more than enough to go out there and be who you are today, be that confident woman? What was that aha moment?
I was standing in the mirror one day and I was getting dressed to go to this event, right? And I was putting on my makeup. And then I looked up and I saw my face. And then I realized it occurred to me that I was getting ready to show up to an event to change my face of who I was authentically, to fit into a preconception of those who did not know me, for those who probably did not really care to know me. And then I confronted myself at that point. I was like, who are you? And I was essentially, being two-faced to myself, right? Sharing one thing, showing one thing about myself in public, and then was a whole nother person in private. And so I realized that was just too stressful. And being one person was who I needed to be. And so I chose the face that stared back at me in the mirror. And from that point on, I vowed to be unapologetically me.
Thanks for sharing that. And I know sometimes that's easier said than done, especially in the world of social media. Sometimes we show up a certain way, not realizing that we're totally different from how we show up in social media. And so it's uncomfortable sometimes to show up as our authentic self, sharing our wins, our losses, what we go through, if we're in our feelings. And because it's not sexy, right? When you share it on social media, like it's not sexy to say, well, I just got rejected by 10 different companies today. I'm going to go eat my feelings. But people can relate to that because it's something that most people go through, right? And the more we can talk about it, the more we can show up as our authentic selves, the more we can also be free from ourselves, right? Instead of showing up as two different personalities, we can just show up as one authentic person. And because of that realization, what's your life been like now?
I have to say I have a rich life. My life is both rich and exponential. And if I could invert a quote from Sherry Riley, who's the author of Exponential Living, I would say it this way, that I spend 100% of my time on 90% of who I am, instead of spending 100% of my time on only 10% of who I was. So it's showing up now and being okay with me.
I love that. And that's the first time I've heard that quote, because I know sometimes as women, we get scared. We overthink a lot and we resist taking action because of how we see ourselves and not realizing, we're awesome. We're capable. We can make it happen. It won't be perfect, but we will live. We're not going to die. And it's just amazing what happens when you go out there and take action and see the results that you create, right, from everything you've done. So I love that quote and tip that you mentioned. And if our listeners wanted to get to know a little bit more about you and what you do, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Sure. You can connect with me on LinkedIn under my name, and I'm out on the former Twitter, X, as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Cassandra, you can also head on over to the taoofselfconfidence.com and search for Cassandra's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else that we talked about. And I just really want to thank Cassandra today for taking the time to share her story and journey with us on self-confidence. And so thank you, Cassandra.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again. I've enjoyed it.
Not a problem. It was an honor having you on the show and looking forward to our USPAACC WISE cohort and seeing the amazing events that's coming up. And to our listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of the Tao of Self-Confidence. You can order your copy of Asian Women Who Boss Up book by visiting our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits.